One of the things I have noticed is that there is what I call a special case of Islamist anti-Semitism. Anti-Semitism is a prejudice, a monster, a hatred that has been with humanity for a very, very long time. There are different flavors. There's the European, there's communist anti-Semitism. There are all sorts of different anti-Semitism that people are really familiar with. And after the Second World War, we thought that monster was slayed. Never again was, the 1945 motto. Now we are being confronted with what to Europeans and Americans, to Westerners, is a new phenomenon, and that is the Islamist-driven anti-Semitism. It's different from the others in the 21st century, number one, because of its scale and its scope. Those who are seeking to delegitimize Israel and to promote the hatred of all Jews are seeking, they're targeting 1.5 billion people on this planet, and they want to spread that cancer to them. Scale and scope. Second problem, they're using, in the West at least, they're embedding this in the narrative of social justice. Israel is occupying Palestinian lands, unfair colonization, imperialism. That's the narrative that's used. And finally, the third point that makes it very difficult for people to address the special case of Islamist anti-Semitism is that they set these moral traps. If you start to point out that there is plain and blatant anti-Semitism committed by some of these Islamists, they'll say, but it's Islamophobia. All hatreds should be treated equally. And I think that makes it, in the 21st century, a really very, more difficult. I know in this country you're dealing with Jeremy Corbyn in the Labour Party, but everybody recognizes what Corbyn says and does for what it is. But the Islamist-driven anti-Semitism is very slippery. I think what ISGAP is doing is absolutely fantastic, and you are going to have to develop, ISGAP and other organizations like ISGAP will have to develop educational material that really tries to understand why this Islamist-driven anti-Semitism is special. And you'll have to go and seek the people, their targets, Muslims. And a lot of Muslims find themselves in vulnerable places, in refugee camps, in countries that have no freedom, that are economically challenged. And so people in these countries are so much easier to manipulate than, say, in the West. So you'll have to find these audiences, and you will have to try to educate them and train them and have them understand what we as human beings have in common. And how wrong it is to isolate, to select a group, target them, isolate them, and seek to destroy them.